Hi, I'm Denise Chaffin, and I am your podcast host for Talking TA, and we are at Transform 2025. And I have with me today Matt Poepsel, and his company is Predictive
Index.
Index. Thank you. And what is your role, Matt?
So I'm the vice president and godfather of talent optimization.
Oh, all right. Oh, let's dive into that a minute. So tell us about that, your role.
Yeah.
Start there.
What happens is talent optimization is a discipline that we created back in 2018, and it really helps us understand how to align people strategy with business strategy. So my role is to talk to amazing business leaders that are people-centric in nature, amazing HR leaders that are business-centric in nature, and really try to provide a lot of great education and support for everyone who's trying to do work better.
That's awesome. And Predictive Index, I mean, when I was reading up on the company, it looked like there was a lot of data analytics behind what you guys do,
Yeah.
which is something I think that we're kind of rolling into more and more. We're hearing more and more about it and how important it is, especially with the adaptation and adoption of AI.
Yeah, you may be shocked to learn that the Predictive Index was actually created in 1955. So it's a personality assessment of behavioral drives and needs that we have at work. That was the original intent for our founder when he created this approach to trying to understand individuals better, to make sure we can match them to the right jobs, coach them to be able to perform well, help entire teams really collectively work together when we have very different personalities that we bring to work. So we've always been a data and analytics play in that way.
That's interesting. So now tell me about the transition, though, from where we were in 1955 to where we are now.
Well, now we have a lot more sophisticated science. We have a lot more sophisticated software as well that can help us apply the insights. So in the old days, you would have to kind of know what you were looking at and try to know how to decipher these things. That was really prohibitive for a lot of managers who are super busy. So now we put the answers to the test, if you will, right in their hands. So when we say, I have to manage somebody who's very different from me, how do I do that? We have the answer. What about an entire team that's working or maybe experiencing some conflict or maybe struggling to meet their deadlines? Well, we have that answer too. So it's a way that we can use the software and the advanced science to help us do things that were just never possible before.
So it's kind of leans more towards L&D, it sounds like.
A little bit more towards L&D, but we probably are best known for our hiring solutions.
Okay.
But I would argue that we have to hire top talent, but we also need to inspire our people to greatness. So when it comes to managers that are making those real critical connections and developing strong relationships, and definitely the team dynamic as well. So it's all part of the platform.
Very good. So tell me what brings you to Transforming. What key takeaway do you want from this conference, or great lesson have you learned so far?
Yeah, Transform has a reputation for being one of the best communities, one of the strongest, most purpose-driven organizations in all of HR in particular. So that's why we definitely wanted to be here. Our mission is better work, better world. If we can send people home after having a great work experience, they're going to take that to their families, to their communities, and beyond. But we know the work experience can be really challenging. And right now it's going through a lot of transformation and change. So when we come to Transform, it's to really find like-minded people who are really at the forefront of what comes next. And we want to make sure that we can understand them and support them with the different types of solutions that we provide.
Oh, awesome. Now, have you been to some of the workshops, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I delivered my workshop on Monday, which was fabulous. Standing room only, Denise. It was incredible.
That's great.
People just really wanted to come, and my topic was all about the future of work. So how do we get ready for what comes next? So a lot of great HR practitioners coming in to understand what are the trends, what are the likely challenges we're going to face, and what can we do to partner with the business to really get out in front of those things. That was awesome. But then also just seeing the nature of the diversity of the thought that goes into the different sessions. There's something for everybody here when it comes to really how to get work right.
Oh, you're so right. It's interesting, but you just mentioned something that a question just popped into my head. So when you had all these leaders coming up to you, like after the session, I'm sure you were just inundated with people with questions and whatnot. What was the one question that seemed to stand out amongst the others as far as a challenge?
Yeah, I think it's how to juggle it all. I mean, we already have these very busy day jobs. We know it's going to take some new things, some new steps, some new processes, activities. That was a big one for sure, is like, how do we balance these types of things? The second, though, is how do we develop those really strong partnerships with the business? There's always been this sort of a natural tension, I would say, between business interests and people interests. And the right relationship that we have is one of partnership. So I think teaching how to make a strong business case, how to actually enlist the support and the help of managers, for example, but also how to take the things that we do and really put them into a business context so that they can be received as powerfully as possible. Those are the types of things people after the session wanted to hear about.
Sure, you bet. Imagine that you will have some new clients that coming from that. That's awesome. So looking at AI, and especially now, I'm sure your business is just going to be on a whole different 180 change with some of the adoption of some of the new systems that are coming out. And I had a conversation earlier with the head of digital transformation for a company.
Nice.
And he said that part of his role, of course, is to come in at the enterprise level and be able to look at all the tools that are going to benefit the company, not just for HR and talent acquisition. So from your perspective, what are you seeing for that's going to help HR and talent acquisition to kind of intersect correctly, right? To be able to adapt to the new agentic AI
Yes.
that's coming in.
Yeah, I think over the last 2 years with generative AI in particular, we started to really ask these questions about, wow, those are activities that used to be reserved just for humans. And so it's really challenged our thinking around what do we want these AI tools to do and to be. And I think the real risk that they provide is that we might focus too much on the productivity gains, the performance outcomes, the technical aspects of business, and maybe let some of the technology do things that, for example, managers need to be doing. Right? That's an inevitable consequence that can happen. But I do think there's also this possibility that AI, because it will free up some time, has this very optimistic opportunity for us to rehumanize our workplaces, because now we won't have as much time spent doing administrative things that the machines and the computers can do very easily. We'll have more time to coach and mentor, to build strong relationships, to get closer to the customers, all these things that only humans can do. So I'm very optimistic when looking forward. And I think HR will lead, whether we look at these these AI tools as productivity boosters in a more technical fashion only, in which case it will only alienate people more and more, or whether we actually embrace their ability to bring us closer together and to foster stronger relationships with one another, which is actually the competitive differentiation we need when it comes to collaboration, innovation, all the things that create value in our businesses.
For your company, with all of these conversations, has there been discussion about what some of those new roles are going to be for HR and TA, that HR can say, hey, this is where we see things right now. This is what AI is going to take over some of the redundant tasks that we have. But here's the future of HR from a roles and position perspective for both HR, learning and development, talent acquisition, the whole entire organization.
Yeah, in the research that we've done, we like to talk about the shift that we need to make from human resources to human potential.
Okay.
And what that really takes is when you think about the topic of transformation as an example, we know that transformation is all about change, but not everyone is welcoming change in the same way or goes through that change process in the same way. So imagine a future where we don't look at ourselves as human resources, but instead as human potential. And we say, let's take this thorough understanding we have about our people and what scares them, what inspires them, what motivates them, and use what we know to actually facilitate transformation. Who needs higher levels of communication? Who needs a little more time with change? Who needs to understand the why behind it? How do we make sure that the teams don't have these competing goals and competing styles that get in the way? That's what it takes to really unlock the full potential of our organization, whether it's coming from new AI capabilities, but also through those human capabilities that we know are so essential for the next phase of our business growth.
Very good. Now, what about one of the questions I have for this event is the candidate experience, right? And I had sent you the question. Tell me what your impression is, what we need to do to improve the candidate experience, again, for HR and talent acquisition, and especially with all of this integration going on and these big changes taking place, to improve the candidate experience, not just for candidates that we hire, but for all candidates.
Yes. I think one of the first things is we've got to recognize this is a fundamentally human situation that we're in. We're dealing with real people. So a lot of times when we only see a resume, for example, we're only looking at records in an applicant tracking system, it sort of dehumanizes the process a little bit. We have to fight that urge to look at this as a numbers game, if you will. So one thing we can do to rehumanize that process a bit is to provide a level of awareness, not just for ourselves about the candidate, but even for the candidate about themselves. So as an example, when we recommend using the predictive index, we say, let's use it early in the interview process because we want to make sure that we understand who it is that we're talking to.
Sure.
Well, a lot of our clients will say, let's go ahead and share the discovery of what we find about the person with the candidate. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is very helpful to me. And I can use this whether I choose to come work for you or if we decide it's a mutual fit or whether I go somewhere else.
Okay.
So you're getting value from even just exchanging as being part of that selection process, if you will. But then when you get on to have a Zoom screen or a phone screen or you have an on-site interview, now you know a little bit about the person. So now you can humanize that part of the process and make it much more familiar, comfortable, relational, all those things that you're going to want that candidate to experience if they're going to make the decision to come work with you.
Right.
So I'd say
Or
early
if
and
they
often.
don't.
Yeah, even if they don't, then they might say, you know what, I wasn't the right fit, but I know somebody who might be. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is great. So when you treat people like people, I think powered by technology, yes. I always like to say we're powered by technology, but we're empowered by people. See, powered by technology, but
That is
powered by
such a
Yeah.
great line. I
Right.
really like
I
that.
think it's really the mindset that we need if we're going to be
Yeah.
successful in a holistic sense, not just for our business, but for our people, for our teams, and for society. Really, it really extends that far.
Wow. That should be your new slogan.
There you go.
Yeah, in fact, when you're talking about giving candidates feedback, the one thing I have noticed as a talent acquisition professional for so many years now is that candidates, when I am, and I'm always trying to be diplomatic, but when I give them real feedback about an interview or why they're not a fit for a position, 99.9% of the time they are just grateful for the feedback and they're okay with it. Just the fact that I'm having this real communication with them, giving them real feedback, they're actually okay with it. I think that a lot of recruiters have been afraid of the reaction that they'll get from candidates, but honestly, candidates just really appreciate knowing. And I think all of us have been candidates at one point or another, and when we do get passed over, it's like, well, why? What happened? Just any feedback is helpful so that when I go to my next interview, I know what I missed on the last one or something that I may have said that probably didn't resonate or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I really believe that giving candidates true feedback is just paramount.
And I think giving them that feedback in the way that they wish to receive it.
Right.
So if I have somebody who's highly extroverted and they're really all about people and relationships, I'm going to pick up the phone or I'm going to get on the Zoom and I'm going to tell that person face to face so they can ask questions. If someone's much more rigorous and detail oriented, I'm going to provide them with, here's my bullets in writing, here are the observations, because they want that time to process and really, so it's always about fitting our interactions with the needs of the other person. But I agree with you 100%, Denise. Some candidates are craving for any communication at all.
Right.
But to do even better than that, to set yourself apart from the competition, treat your candidates well, all of them. And even if it's a no, it can be a courteous no, and it can be, here's some feedback. We want to make sure you're clear.
Right.
Then you're creating real value, and they're going to return that favor. It's going to come back to you, right? You're going to build that into your culture.
Well, you built the relationship. Exactly. It's the start to a relationship. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about return to office.
Yeah.
Okay, because return to office is obviously, it's an ongoing conversation.
So for us as a company, we've decided that whatever format works best for the individual is the format that we're going to support. So some people like to come to the office, some people are fully remote, some are hybrid. As long as we can work together with our teammates to make sure that we can do our work and put ourselves in the best position to perform at our best, that's what we're going to support today and tomorrow and the next day. What we have clients, of course, in every industry you can imagine, right?
Sure.
10,000 clients, there's all kinds of different industries, and some don't have the choice. If you're on a construction job site, you can't be remote. And so what we find is that the principles that we teach are timeless, and they're also placeless in the sense that you can use them on a Zoom if you're fully distributed. You could use them in hybrid settings. It's all about how do we understand the work to be done, the people doing the work, and make sure that we understand how those things align and where they need coaching and interventions and activities to bridge any gaps that we find. And that can be done anywhere. I think that what's happened a lot of times with the return to office is this unfortunate dynamic we see sometimes between the employer and the employee. Who's got the power now? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? All these things that are sort of binary, they almost pit us against one another, as opposed to a partnership. I don't want to know about the power, I want to know about the partnership. And when that comes down to it and we say, maybe there are times that we need to be together, let's make sure that we're together. And if there's times when we can do our work remotely and allow people flexibility in their lives and they can fit work into their own styles, then I think we have to be able to question these outdated notions about 9 to 5 in the office, Monday through Friday. That might have been great at one time. It may be right today, but it may not be. And we have to be trusting enough of our employees, and they have to be thoughtful and diligent enough to give us the value that we are looking for in terms of that employment relationship. But when we do that and we work together, then everything gets better for everyone. Yeah.
But how do we send that message though to the leadership teams about this partnership? Because I really like that idea. Because they're coming on a little strong.
Well, employees have long memories,
Right.
and as you know, and I do,
Yeah.
these employment cycles are cyclic by definition. So eventually, if we treat our employees badly because we can, when the job market opens up, they're not going to be there for us to treat badly for long, right?
Right.
So rather than do that, try to get at the core of what is it that you're concerned about? What is it that we don't trust? Why is it that we want people to come back to the office? And if the decision is, we have a lot of real estate here, and we're spending a lot of money, then be transparent about that and let people make their own decisions.
Yeah.
But to say that we don't have productivity or we're worried about culture, we have too many examples of fully remote companies or hybrid companies that are able to address those things.
Yeah.
So I think you want to be truthful, you want to be transparent at all times. And I think that this evolved notion of partnership is one that is going to create the competitive advantage, because top talent always has a choice.
Right.
And if you have somebody who says, I want flexibility in my work arrangement, they're going to go to where they can get that. Maybe not today if the job market's tight, but
Right.
once it opens up, they will.
And I've been saying that for so long now, so long. Yeah, they may be your employee today, but wait till another opportunity opens up. And I think it's an important discussion because and you made a good point just now. When you tell your employees that you're bringing them back into the office because you think it's good for the culture of the company, blah, blah, people see through that. If they know that you're really bringing them back because you want to fill up office space,
Yeah, or you don't trust them.
or that you don't trust them and you want to micromanage that type of
Exactly.
thing, it's a whole different conversation
Yeah.
amongst the employees.
Yeah.
And they're going to share with each other. And so it's not losing just one or two.
Yeah. And then when the dust settles, what
Yeah.
you have left are those who were in those situations. There maybe not be the best employees for what you need
There
to
you
do
go.
next.
There you go.
And the ones that you need to be the most intrepid and dynamic and entrepreneurial are saying, not here. I can't be the type of person. I can't make the contribution I want here. And eventually you're going to lose that competitive advantage that you think you have today. So I think it's just, again, if the right decision is that employees need to come to the office or the construction site, then of course we need to do that. It's those areas where we didn't need to, but we forced it. We took a leverage point on them. Don't be surprised when that leverage flips back, as opposed to saying, you know what, let's work in partnership together. Let's make grown-up decisions, and let's talk about how everything in the world has evolved. Certainly the world of work can evolve too.
Yeah.
We don't have to just cling to things that are familiar.
Right.
We can really update and reach our next level together in that way.
So agree. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I appreciate your input.
Thanks so much for having me, Denise. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt.